Hi guys, welcome back for episode number 77 of the weekly playback. Before we get started, I do want to just ask you a question about my videos, about the lighting. So I edit my videos on CapCut, and when I adjust the lighting and stuff on CapCut, it looks fine. But then when I watch the videos on, say, a computer, the lighting just looks so bright. Like the videos just look like neon bright, like, you know, just kind of hard to watch, but they look fine on my phone and on my iPad, which is where I, edit these videos. So I want to know how they look for you guys, and whether the lighting has been bothering you guys. If you have any feedback about the lighting, please let me know. No one has left any comments about it, but I thought I would ask just because I do notice a difference between when I watch my videos on a phone or an iPad as opposed to a computer. So yeah, so let me know if you get a chance. All right, thanks. So let's talk about Tiwanaku. This is a deduction game designed by Olivier Gregoire, and the art is done by Raphael Samach, and it's published by Sit Down Games. It is for 1 to 4 players, and it came out in 2022. So in this game, which is a deduction game, you are going to have quecha meeples, and I will post some pictures, but you are going to have a few tiles on the board to begin with some crop tiles, and you with your quecha meeples are going around the board exploring or divining. So exploring means you're moving your meeples around and uncovering new terrain tiles. So let me just show you the board. So like for a shorter game, you will use this board. For a longer game, you would use this board. And then for a shorter game, so for a 2-player game, you would also use this side of the board, and I'll explain what these tracks are and stuff in a minute. But if you have more than 2 players, you would use this board instead. So you are going to have this wheel, and in this wheel, you are going to stick the puzzle that you are playing for that game. So you'll be sticking in a card, and the game comes with, a lot of these. I think I ended up getting some extras as well when I backed this on Kickstarter. So this is not a review copy. I paid for this myself. So I backed this on Kickstarter. So you are going to stick in one of those sheets, well, more like, heavy cardstock, and then put this in the center, and then you're going to have like these windows which will open up when you adjust the dials on the top and on the bottom. So let me just show you the inside of the box. So I backed the deluxe version, and I don't know why I said this before, but I had previously commented that I could not get my deluxe tiles to fit in the box. I don't know why I said that, because they do fit in the box. So I don't know what I was doing wrong, that at the time I thought that they just would not fit, but they do fit. So yeah. So you have your deluxe terrain tiles, or if you have the cardboard version, then it would be the cardboard version. And then the quecha meeples here, the llama score tokens, and then the various crop tokens and stuff. And I'll explain what all of those do. I'm not sure what these are for. I think it might be for a solo mode or a mode of the game that I haven't played yet. So you are going to have this board, and based on which puzzle you are playing, it's going to tell you which tiles you start the game with. So it'll tell you how many you need of each. In this case, you won't use any of the brown ones, but it'll tell you how many tiles you use in total, and then you'll start the game by putting out some tiles with the various crop circles on them. So you're going to put the various crop circles on them. Then you're going to stick this into the thing, and you're going to stick it this side up, but you should not look at this before you stick this in. So, you'll want to kind of do it blindly, and then you are then ready to play. So on your turn, you can either divine or explore. Explore means move. Movement in this game is pretty unrestricted, meaning that, if you run into a crop tile that, a terrain tile that already has a crop token on it, or one of your own quecha meeples, you can change direction and then go somewhere else. If you ever land on a space that has no terrain tile on it, then you end up exploring. So you will use this, and you will put in the coordinates. So each section is going to have a coordinate. So for example, this one looks like fire, and then the top of this is a turtle. No, sorry, bird. This is a bird. So if I wanted to see what was in the fire and the bird, I would then put the top arrow to fire, wherever fire is, I don't know. Yeah, here it is. So I would put the top arrow to fire, and then these keep on sliding down. And then I would put this to the bird, And then I would, after it's on the bird, then I would reveal this and that would show me which tile goes there. So that is what exploring is. And exploring will give you points as well. So when you explore, you are gonna move up your token on the area of the tile that you just uncovered. So let's suppose I had just uncovered a yellow tile, I would move up my token to the yellow space. Then I will get a point for each of my tokens that is on that level. So if I had, say, a token on the space here, because I just uncovered that, and then I had a token on the brown one and the green one as well, that would be 3 points if I had 3 tokens on this first level. And then likewise, as you progress, you kind of want to try to explore the tiles equally so that you get more and more points. So you want to try to uncover blue, green, these brown and yellow tiles at around the same amount, because then you'll score more points this way. So like, let's suppose you had 4 tiles in the third level, 4 tokens in the third level, because you had uncovered that many tiles of the different colors, then that would be 4 points. So yeah. So each time you uncover a new terrain tile, you will get points in that way. So you want to try to keep all the different colors that you're exploring equal to each other so that, you'll get the maximum number of points there. So that is the first action you can do on a turn, is to explore. The second action you can do, so you can only do one or the other. You only get 1 action per turn. The second action that is available is to divine. So if you land on a terrain tile that has no crop tile on it, meaning like none of these crop circles, then you can try to predict which crop circle is there. And if you predict correctly, you then win that crop circle, like you put it on there. Regardless, even if you are incorrect, you're going to end up putting the correct crop circle onto the tile. And then you will win the matching crop token. So these crop tokens, you will have as many of each color as there are the number of players, and each player can only have 1 crop token at a time. So let's suppose you had already uncovered a red crop circle somewhere and you already had the chili crop token. You can still uncover a red circle somewhere, you just won't be able to collect the chili crop token for it then, since you already have that. And I'll explain why you collect those crop tokens and what you do with them. So you're trying to go to empty terrain tiles so that you can predict which crop circles are there and collect these crop tokens. If you are correct, you'll get the number of points that is equal to the crop circle you correctly guessed. So if you correctly guess that there is a 5 crop circle on a terrain tile, you will get 5 points and you will get the matching crop token. If you were incorrect, you will lose the number of points by which you were for which you were incorrect. Like, let's suppose there was a 4 there and you guessed it was a 5, you would lose 4 points. Because you were incorrect. So that is how that works. These crop tokens, you can then make it an offering to the gods. So if you only have 1 crop token to offer to the gods, it's 0 points. If you have 2, it's 2 points. If you have 3, it's 3 points. If you have 4, I think it's 5 points or 6 points. And then if you have all 5, it's the maximum number of points, which I think is like 7 points or something like that. So you want to try to divine all 5 crop tokens if you can, to turn them in for the maximum number of points. The game end will be triggered once the last terrain tile is uncovered, and then you'll just get to go around divining. You can only divine if you're on an empty terrain tile, meaning that there's no crop circle on it yet. So as the game is approaching towards game end, you want to try to position yourself on empty terrain tiles so that when the game end is triggered, you'll be able to make divinations. And throughout the game, actually, when you do the divine action, if you're on multiple empty terrain tiles, you can divine on all of them. It's not just one. So the divination action allows you to divine on any empty terrain tile that you're on if you want to, if you feel like you're ready to do so, but you don't have to divine on all the terrain tiles that you're currently on. So you can either explore, which is also moving around the board, or you can divine. You can't move and then divine. That's not an action you can take. So how can you kind of guess where things are in this game? So there are certain rules in this game that will help you deduce where certain things are. So you will never have 2 regions of the same type adjacent to each other, not even diagonally. So you can't have, like, for example, let's see. I don't know if they give, yeah, so here's an example. So like, for example, this would never be allowed because they're diagonally adjacent to each other. So you could not have that happen. So you know that you're going to have a region which is going to be numbered either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So you're going to have region, the maximum number of tiles in a region is going to be 5, with the minimum number being 1. I mean, there might be instances where you have 0 tiles of a certain terrain type. And then the crop circles can also not be adjacent to each other, neither diagonally or adjacent of the same kind. So for example, you could not have 2 5s adjacent to each other. So diagonally or like orthogonally adjacent. So that would never happen. So that starts to help you to understand where something might be and helps you to start divining. So you know if a region is a size 3, then you know that there's going to be a crop circle with a 1 on it, a crop circle with a 2 on it, and a crop circle with a 3 on it. So the maximum, like, so if you uncover a crop circle of 5 somewhere and there's only 4 tiles right now visible of that type, you know that there's going to be another tile that is adjacent in that region because we've already uncovered the number 5. So you know that that region is 5 tiles big. So yeah, so based on these rules, you can start to deduce where certain crop tiles are and even where certain terrain tiles might be for the explore action, because again, you want to try to stay level on all the different colors so you can score the maximum number of points. And then again, you know, when you uncover crop tiles, you'll get those crop tokens, which you can then make an offering to the gods, and you can make your offering to the gods at the end. Or if you're like a super genius and you're like uncovering so many crop tiles, I think you can even make multiple offerings to the gods, because once you make the offering to the gods, then those crop tiles would be available for you to then collect again. I don't know if that's allowed, but I would guess it's allowed. So yeah, so that is how Tiwanaku is played. It's really fun. I played it at, twice. I played it at a 2-player account and at a 4-player account. So at a 2-player account, I found that it was possible for me to get more crop tokens for me to make the largest offering to the gods at the end of the game. In a 4-player game, I found it was more difficult for me to get all 5 crop tokens. But the scores were relatively around the same in both games, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I can actually check because I recorded my scores, so BGG would have my plays for it. Let me just see. So yeah, it's nice that you can actually just click on here and see. Yeah, so in my 2-player game, I scored 48 and the other player scored 53. The scores were lower in a 4-player game, which makes sense. So in the 4-player game, I scored 30, the winner had 36, someone had 22, and someone else had 30 points. So the scores are lower, and I guess that makes more sense because more people are going to be uncovering terrain tiles and making predictions, divinations for the crop tiles. Crop circles. So yeah, so that makes sense. But yeah, it's a super fun deduction game. I absolutely love it. I think, you know, the logic rules are much easier to understand in this game than in a lot of other deduction games. Like in a lot of other deduction games, there's like a lot more to remember. There is not as much to remember in this deduction game. So if you are looking for a deduction game where it's a little bit, you know, easier to understand and deduce things, but still quite a good puzzle, then I would highly recommend Tiwanaku. It does come with these player screens, so you can have a scratch pad behind the screen and take notes. I actually did not order the notepad that was specifically designed for this game, but now I wish I had. So I did not think at the time I would need it, but I think it would come in quite handy. What is quite handy is that when I backed this on Kickstarter, it gave the option for an additional rulebook, so I ended up getting 2 rulebooks in English, which is quite handy, so that, you know, players can, you know, look at this cheat sheet, like not cheat sheet, like kind of a quick guide on the back of the board while playing. So it's nice to have 2 rulebooks. Yeah. So I think this is the only game for which I have 2 rulebooks. And oh, that was Toffee, sorry about that. So yeah, so that was Tiwanaku. So again, if you enjoy deduction games, highly recommend Tiwanaku. Another game I played recently is Block and Key. So Block and Key is a 2022 game designed by David Van Drunen, and the art is done by Edo Valls, and the publisher is Inside Up Games, and it is for 1 to 4 players. Now this game is it's a drafting game, it's a pattern building game, and there's also some end game bonuses. So the box actually turns into the game board itself. So you are going to use both boxes. So you're going to use the top box, which is going to be the grid on which you're placing a bunch of blocks, and you're going to use the back of this box on which you're going to have the blocks to draft from, as well as the cards, the key cards that you can try to complete, the sun and the moon. The moon is the hardest ones, and the sun is the medium difficulty ones. And everyone starts with, I believe, 2 or 3 easy difficulty level cards. So you're going to be using these like things to create the box. So you'll have the bottom level and then the top level where you're actually placing a bunch of blocks. So you're going to be placing all of these blocks into this cloth bag, and then you are trying to basically create patterns on the cards that you have. So what each person is going to have a side of the board, and from your side of the board you are trying to create the pattern that you see on the card. You can rotate this anyway, but you cannot do the mirror image. So there are blocks in 4 different colors. Is it 4? Yeah, 4 different colors. Like you have like this light green, like white color, a dark green color, a grayish color, and a brown color. So you'll have one starting block on the board for a 4-player game. It'll tell you how to orient this, and then you are trying to create the patterns that you have on your card. There are easy level cards, and then there are more difficult level cards, and so on. So like for example, an easy level one is this one. So this is a star card. So as you can see, this would be quite easy. There are rules about how you place blocks. So if you place a block with its faces adjacent to another block, then yours has to be taller. So for example, if this was already there and I wanted to place this exactly adjacent to it, mine would have to be taller. I could not do that because it's not taller. If you place it kitty corner, meaning only the corners touch, then you don't have to respect that rule. But when you place blocks, you have to at least place them kitty corner. You can't ever place it so that it's completely off by itself. So when you place a block, it has to at least be kitty corner to another block or adjacent. But again, if you're completely adjacent like that, then your block has to be taller, and you can never exceed a height of 6 blocks. So when you're trying to create these patterns, what you're trying to do is only look at it from your side. So the blocks actually don't need to be even near each other. So like you can have a block like way far back on the board and a block way ahead of it, but if it creates the pattern that you see on your card, you can still fulfill that key card. So as long as it looks like what's on your card from your perspective, then you have fulfilled it. So even other people placing down blocks and trying to fulfill their own cards may sometimes help you or sometimes hinder you, because they might, you know, mess up what you were trying to do, which happened to me in a few instances. In a 4-player game, which is what I played of this, the game end trigger is once someone has completed 7 cards. At a certain point, there's no more blocks to draft. So on your turn, you can either place a block or you can draft some blocks from the bottom of the board, as I showed, but you can have no more than 7 blocks in your possession at a time. If you complete a card, then you'll just pick a new card from the bottom of the board, either a moon or a sun card. The star cards, there is no draw pile for the star cards. You just start with those at the beginning of the game, which are the easy level cards. So you only have 2 actions available to you, to either draft blocks or place a block and try to complete a key card. So again, the game end triggers when someone has placed their 7th block, and then has completed their 7th card, and then everyone will get one more turn. I think even that person, if I remember correctly. And then you will see who has the most number of points. Now the points are interesting because each person also starts with an enigma card at the beginning. So you have a secret enigma card which is going to show one color of a block. You want to have the most faces of that color facing you. So what you're going to do at the end of the game is count up the number of blocks of that color that are facing you. So for example, I had white blocks. So I would count up the number of total white blocks that are facing me. And by blocks I mean individual squares, not like an entire block. So you're going to count up the number of squares, divide it by 3 and round down. And that number of points you're going to add to each key card you completed. So for example, if I completed this key card and that's worth 1 point because it's an easy one, and let's suppose, you know, when I did that whole thing where I divided the numbers, blah, 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 and it ended up being 4 points, I'm going to add 4 to this. I'm going to add 4 to every single card I completed. Or if you want to do it easier, what you'll do is just take that number and multiply it by the number of cards you have, and then add up the individual points on your cards, and that is your total score. So yeah, so you, in addition to trying to complete these cards, you are also trying to get it so that you have the maximum number of faces that are facing you of your Enigma card color. So yeah, so it's a really interesting game. It's a bit difficult. It's quite thinky, especially at 4 players where, you know, you end up feeling a lot more restricted in what you can do. I really enjoyed it though. So I do not remember what the scores were. Let me see. So the scores in this game that I played, the winner had 56 points and she was the one who ended the game. Then the next highest player had 44, and then me and someone else were tied at 34 points each. So yeah, so that was our play of this game. I do recommend that when you put this game away, you just put them back in these plastic bags, because if you put them in here, it's not gonna fit. It's a pretty thin box. So yeah, and I will also mention that I paid for this myself. This is not a review copy, so yeah. So I bought this from my local gaming store. So yeah, so that is Block and Key. So if you enjoy like spatial puzzle games, you will definitely enjoy this. I have not yet done the solo mode of this game, so I can't comment on the solo mode. But yeah, if you enjoy if you enjoy spatial puzzle games, then this is definitely one that you might enjoy. So yeah, so go check out Block and Key. 2 other new to me games that I played recently, which I do not own, so I cannot show them to you, but hopefully I can post some pictures, are Wormholes and Books of Time. So let's talk about Wormholes. So Wormholes came out, let me actually pull it up first. So Wormholes came out in 2022. It is designed by Peter McPherson. The art is done by Kering Wong, and it's published by AEG, Alderac Entertainment Group, and it is for 1 to 5 players. So this is a pick up and deliver game. So you are going to have a board which is going to have like a satellite on it. It's going to have different planets and different like obstructions on the board. You are trying to place wormholes around near the different planets so that you can move quickly and deliver passengers. So you have these passengers that you want to deliver from wherever they want to go. So you're going to start with a certain number of passenger cards, and they'll each be worth 2 points. Then if you have like more than 5, I think, different planets that you've delivered to, then you'll get like some bonus points or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, so you're just delivering passengers based on which planet they want to go to. So you're trying to, you know, strategically place your wormholes. And it is possible to use other people's wormholes in this game as well. So you're allowed a certain number of movement points per each game, per each round. For each turn you have, rather. So I believe you're allowed 3 movement points, but using wormholes is like free, so that doesn't count as a movement. So it is a hexagonal grid like board, so you're, you know, there's different hexagons that you can move to throughout space in case you don't have wormholes placed, and you'll be picking up new planet cards, but you know, there's also going to be a section with face-up cards that people have discarded that they don't want. So if you want some of the face-up cards, you need to go back to like home base, which I think is like a satellite if I remember correctly. So you know, there's different kinds of things you can do in different planets, so you can't necessarily get the cards that you want at any planet. You have to go back to like home base. So you know, you want to try to strategically place your wormholes and stuff to deliver these passengers and get the cards you want. And so my opponent, of course, that was his game, so he'd played this a number of times, so he was, you know, really fast in the beginning and, you know, delivering a lot of passengers and setting up his wormholes properly. It was my first time playing, so I was just trying to like get an idea, a feel for the game, and try to figure out where I should place my wormholes and stuff. So in the end, our scores were, I scored 52 and my opponent scored 62. So even though he was a lot more experienced, he won by only 10 points because I started picking it up and started, you know, figuring out how to deliver passengers more quickly and stuff like that. I actually did not end up placing my last wormholes. So each person has 5 sets of wormholes to place. So you'll have one set that has, you know, 2 different things, so each one will have a number 1 on it, and then you'll have 2 other things, and each one will have a number 2 on it, and so on, going up to number 5. So I did not place my number 5 wormhole set because some of the planets are so far away, and it would like just take me forever just to get there to place my wormhole. So you need to be adjacent to the planet when you put down a wormhole, which is also a free action. So moving is basically what's going to cost you if you don't have wormholes. Just moving through space is going to take a lot of time. So, but once you get to places, you can place down wormholes. You can also use the other player's wormholes. So you can get to one of their wormholes and use it, but they'll get a point if you use their wormhole. So it kind of helps them out a little bit. So yeah, it was a fun little game. It's not one that I particularly feel I need to add to my collection, so I'm glad that I did not buy it, because I don't think that this is a game I would pull out quite often to play. But it's got a cool space theme, and if you enjoy pick up and deliver games, and maybe a little bit of a puzzle like how to strategically place your wormholes, then you might enjoy this game. Another game I played recently, which I do not own, is Books of Time. So Millennium Games, their Learn to Play game for this past Friday night was Books of Time. So Books of Time is a 2023 game designed by Philip Glowaj. I think that's how you pronounce it. I really have no idea. The art is done by, oh my goodness, I am totally going to butcher these names, Zbigniew Gelter and Alexander Zawada, and it's published by Boarding Dice. This is an engine building game for 1 to 4 players. So it's like a hand management, open drafting, set collection, and engine building game kind of. So you have these like 3 different books in front of you. You're trying to like get different pages to add to them. There's like a different variety of actions you can take. So on your turn, you can take one action, and the actions are to like either add a page to your book, so you would have had to previously drafted that page, and then you'd have to pay a cost to then add that page to your book. You can activate your pages, where you can take the resources that are listed on your pages and then turn the pages. So when you activate pages, you activate 2 pages and then turn the page. Different pages have different symbols on them, so that's where set collection comes in. There's different tracks you can go up on, which will give you different things, and if you reach the top level track, it'll get you some points. What else is going on here? So yeah, the different books, like there's different tiles and they'll score in different ways. Like for one of the books, you want to have the different symbols on the cards in order, and I think that that would be really hard. Another one, it's like if you have like at least 2 of a certain symbol, you'll get some points. So yeah, you know, after playing this game at the demo night, like Learn to Play at Millennium Games, I'm not sure that this is one I would want to add to my collection. It seemed interesting, you know, it seemed like a good game, I guess, but I don't know. I don't feel particularly like enamored by it. So, you know, sometimes when I play a game, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing, and I definitely want to add it to my collection. I did not feel that way about this game. So, but yeah, it's an interesting game, and it's got a really good rating. So, I mean, a 7.5 on BGG, I would say is a good rating. So clearly, a lot of people do love this game. But me personally, you know, I'm not sure that I enjoyed it enough that I would add it to my collection. If I received a review copy of it, then I'd definitely be down to play more, you know, play it a few more times, especially because we did not get to do a full play of this game. So when Millennium Games does their demo nights where you get to try a new game, you don't get to play the full length game. So maybe if I played the full length game, my opinion would be higher of this game. Like right now, I would probably rate it a 7 just based on playing it for a couple of rounds, but a couple of rounds is clearly not enough because, you know, we didn't really get to do everything that we wanted to do. Just, you know, it just gave me a little bit of a taste of the game. So maybe if someone I know owns this game and I played a full-length game of it, maybe, you know, my rating might increase in that situation. So yeah, so I got to play Books of Time, well, a little bit. Some other games I played recently. So I played the Princes of Florence again. So I absolutely love this game. So this is a review copy that I had received from WizKids, you know, just to show the new edition of the Princes of Florence. So I had discussed this game in detail in a previous video, which I can link below if you want to learn how it plays. So previously I'd played this game twice at 2 players, and this time I got to play this at 4 players. So I played this yesterday at a 4-player account, and I really enjoyed it at a 4-player account because it really makes it a bit more challenging. So at 4 players, let me just go to the score so you can get an idea. So this is it's a bidding game. So in the beginning of each round, you are going to be bidding on various things, like either tiles or certain types of cards and such. And then you're going to the action phase where each player has 2 actions. In a 4-player game, it's you know, a lot more constrained because you have 4 players competing for the different things now. So in a 4-player game, like just to give you an idea of scores, previously the winning scores were in my 2-player games. In one game, the winning score was 61, in another game was 56. In my 4-player game, the winning score was 48, and then me and another player tied at 41, and then another player had 39. So the scores were pretty close. So you're really in competition for the various things that are available in the game when you play a 4-player game. I do think that maybe an error had been made when I played it at a 2-player count, because I realized last night that you cannot use a bonus card more than once, and I do not recall anyone in the 2-player games I played discarding the bonus card after using it. So in this game, again, I'll link below how to play, but there are bonus cards which help increase your worker value in each round when you decide to do the worker action. And when you increase your worker value to meet a certain number of points, which in turn will help you get more money and possibly help you earn prestige points, which is what you need to win the game. So worker value is different from prestige points, but worker value will determine how much money you earn at the end of that round if you have played a worker card, and it will also determine whether or not you get some prestige points. So here is a worker card, for example. So we were not discarding the bonus cards in the 2-player games I played, which might explain the really higher scores for the winner in that game. But it is a really fun game. It's, more competitive at 4 players. I enjoyed it a lot more at 4 players. It wasn't bad at 2 players, and I would totally play it again at 2 players. There are some some minor changes you make to the game at 2 players, but I do think it's probably better at 4. I still have not played with the new expansion that it comes with, like these characters with special abilities. I have not done that yet, but I would like to. So if you're playing this game, just be mindful of the fact that it does play better at a higher player count, and that you want to be mindful of the fact that you discard your bonus cards, because you should not be hanging on to them, because that is really going to skew the number of points that someone gets and the money that someone gets. And but I really love this game a lot, and I do highly recommend it. But again, it is a review copy, but my opinion is still my opinion, and I think it's a really fun game. I really do enjoy Wolfgang Kramer's games. So if you enjoy bidding games and tile placement games, then you will definitely love this game a lot. So I played that again recently. I played another game of Fromage. So I had mentioned how I hoped I would get a chance to play Fromage again, and I did. So Fromage is the game from Road to Infamy Games, which is coming out on Kickstarter in September. So I got to play a 2-player game of that. So I had previously played a 4-player game of it, and I was, a bit concerned at how it would do it 2 players, and they really scaled it really well. So at 2 players, they have different inserts that you put into the different sections of the board. So those inserts block off a certain number of spaces, and in the area control section, you will get a fewer number of points for controlling different areas. So I think it scaled really well at 2 players, and in fact, if I read you the scores from all the plays, so at a 4-player game, the winner had 61 points, and I scored 54, and another player scored 52, and then another player scored 28. In my 2-player game of it, I won with 51 points, and the other player had 34. So I think it scales really well in a 2-player game. Like, it blocks off different sections so that you can't use them, and and it worked really well at 2 players as well. And in a 2-player game, you have to sit opposite each other so that the 2 sides of the boards on either side of you are not going to be occupied by a certain player, and I think it works really well at 2 players. So Fromage is coming out on Kickstarter in September, and I am going to be doing an overview video for that, which is of course sponsored. But I really love Fromage. I just really enjoyed it. So, and then finally, I played another game of After Us. So After Us, I've now had, I believe, 3 plays of. So this time I played a 3-player game of it, and I still really enjoy it. So this is a game I paid for myself at UKGE. So again, it's designed by Florian Siriax, and the art is done by Vincent Dutrait, and it's published by Ketchup Games. In the USA, I believe it'll be published by Pandasaurus. So I think it's already available for people. So it actually was not my copy that we played with. So I enjoyed my 3-player game of After Us that I played recently. So that was really good as well. So those are all the games that I played in the last week, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, so let's move on. So moving on to things that I am backing. So I am only currently backing Wizards & Co. at $1 or £1 rather, just to follow along with the campaign and hopefully get my production copy of the game. So it's fully funded, and I did an overview video for Wizards & Co. And I'm still backing Find the Fun, the game design resources book, but I might actually end up canceling that. And I'll explain, well, I guess I can just mention right now why I think I'll cancel it. It's like $28, and I'm not sure I need it, and I've been spending a lot of money on cat food feeding stray cats. So I think I might end up canceling that, since I'm not really sure I need it, to be honest. So I probably will cancel that. So those are the only things I'm backing, and I haven't actually received anything recently to show you guys, so there's actually nothing to show you today. So let's just move on. Let's move on to updates. So let's talk about FlagCon. So FlagCon tickets go on sale on August 1st. Like I said before, we are growing. Okay, so for people who maybe haven't watched my videos before, I'm helping to organize a board game convention in Ithaca, New York, which will be the first weekend of November from Friday to Sunday. That is in Ithaca, New York, and Ithaca, New York is really beautiful. It's, you know, a really great town. Highly recommend you visit, even if you can't make this convention, that you actually visit some other time, because it is really worth visiting. It's where Cornell University is located. We have so many waterfalls and beautiful hiking trails, a lot of cute areas in town that you can check out and, you know, eat food and just walk around. It's a really cute town. So we are having a board game convention the first weekend of November. So tickets for that go on sale the 1st of August. So do mark your calendars. I have signed up to host an event, like a game. So I've signed up to host a game of Three Ring Circus, and I'm probably gonna end up hosting a few more events because, you know, I'm one of the organizers. So I am gonna be responsible for working at the event and hosting some events. But yeah, I hope that aside from the events, that maybe I'll still get to play some other games as well, but who knows? It remains to be seen. But please, if you live nearby, you know, it would be great if you would show some support for this convention, which we hope to turn into a yearly thing. It will be held at Hotel Ithaca, and I've donated a number of games to the games library, and I'm still going to be reaching out to publishers to hopefully get some more game donations. So yeah, if you, you know, I don't expect anyone to say yes to this, but if you are feeling very generous and you don't mind spending money on shipping games, then, you know, we would be happy for, you know, any donations that people want to make to our permanent game library, or if you even want to lend some games to the game library for the day of. So yeah, so again, no pressure, but, you know, I would love it if any of my followers who, you know, maybe live nearby would like to attend. That would be fantastic. But again, no pressure. So that is the update with that. So recently I had been asked to give some comments on the new FTC guidelines for content creators, and I think that they are like going to start cracking down on board game content creators. Like they like specifically like even mentioned board game content creation, which is interesting, at least if I recall. I think that they did. So, you know, the guidelines are, you know, I need to read them more in depth, but I believe that they say that if you receive a free copy of a game for review purposes, even if you're not paid anything to make the content for the game, but the game itself is free, you should disclose that. So I did comment that I have always disclosed when an overview video of mine is paid for. So the vast majority of my overview videos that I do are sponsored, meaning I get paid to create the overview video. The overview video is just an overview of the game, though I will add that at the end of the video, if it's a game I really enjoyed, then I tend to add something like, oh, if you're looking for a fun game, or if you're looking for a pretty game that, like, you know, if I think the game is really pretty, then I tend to add a comment at the end of the game. But the overview videos are basically intended to teach the person the gist of the game in a minute or two. So I've always disclosed when those have been sponsored, and I always have in the video itself at the bottom of the video, it says includes paid promotion for like the first 10 seconds, and when I upload it to YouTube, I always mark that it is paid. So you know, it's a paid promotion. So because of the new FTC guidelines and this article that the Board Game Wire published, and I'll link the article below, Alex from BoardGameCo released a whole video talking about ethics in content creation. And with that video, he released a survey that people can fill out and basically give their own opinions on what content creators should or should not be doing with regards to ethics and stuff in content creation. So I thought it would be fun to go through this survey and give my opinions on each question, and talk about what I am or am not doing currently and maybe what I could do better. So I did comment in the article that I could be doing better, because in the past when I would make a post on Instagram, and my comments really just referred to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and like other places where I post pictures of the games that I receive, I never have previously indicated that it's a review copy. So whenever I would post photos of games that I'm playing and just talking about the play of the game, I would not indicate when it's a review copy. So going forward, I have already started to make more of an effort to do that. Again, paid sponsored videos, I've always indicated that the videos are sponsored. So I want to go through Alex's survey and fill it out with you guys. So I thought that would be fun. And then he'll have some more results that he can also look at. And I can just basically give you guys an idea of my content. So this is going to be long because it is a long survey. So the first question is it okay to engage in paid content as a content creator? I would say yes. So again, like my sponsored videos, they take time to make. Not only do I have to read the rulebook and understand the rules and play the game to make sure that I understand it properly, because obviously I'm not going to make an overview video of a game that I haven't played yet. I mean, that already is a few hours of time. And then making the video itself is time. Like that's, going to take me time. It takes me time to set up my cameras. I'm a woman, so of course I want to look presentable. So I put thought into, my makeup and my hair, and I put thought into what I'm wearing. I usually try to match up my outfit to the game somehow. So I put a lot of thought, and if I can't match it up, then I just wear one of my Board Games in a Minute shirts. But if you go back in the archives and look at old videos, I always have tried to match my outfit to the games. And so it takes time. It takes time to do a whole setup, because I don't have a separate space for shooting videos. I do everything in this room, so I have to set up all these lights and set up the board and like take a few turns and get the board to where it's going to be like in the middle of the game to kind of show you. So it takes time to do that. So I think it's fair to pay content creators who make content like playthroughs and things like that, because those take time. Is it okay to offer opinionated content if the content was paid for? I think yes, so I do. So but not in my, again, sponsored videos, but like I always discuss my opinion in my playback videos, and I may do that on Instagram as well. So I do offer opinions of content that was paid for, because I think it's fine. My opinion is not paid for, it's the overview video that's paid for, but I think it's gonna give people more information if I offer my opinion for a game for which I was paid to make an overview video. Like if I make an overview video and the game is not that great, then I should probably tell people that I didn't enjoy it. But again, I personally, before buying a game, check many reviews and look at what other people have said before deciding to spend my own money on a game. And I would highly advise that everyone do the same. Like I refer to multiple sources. I'm not going to just like listen to one person unless I feel like we have very similar tastes. Like I think Rado and I tend to have very similar tastes. So if Rado says he really loved a game, then I'm probably going to be more inclined to be like, okay, I think I'll love it too. But generally speaking, I read a whole bunch of reviews on BGG before deciding to spend my money on a game. Is it okay to offer opinionated content if a review copy was provided? Definitely. I mean, I think that's what publishers want, right? I mean, granted, you might end up getting fewer review copies if you start, just if you are, putting out one negative review after another of their games. But maybe that's why AEG doesn't send me as many games, because in the past I have stated that I have culled a number of their games because I just did not think that I would enjoy them again. So like, for example, I called Eco's First Continent because I just thought that the theme and the mechanics really had nothing to do with each other, and I just couldn't understand the love for that game. That was a review copy, and I basically stated that it was not going to stay in my collection. So I called that. I called Santa Monica, which again was a review copy, and I decided that that was not going to stay in my collection. There's a couple of other AEG games that I ended up culling as well. So maybe that's why they don't send me games anymore. Who knows? But I think it's perfectly fair to offer opinionated content if a review copy was provided. Just beware that publishers might stop sending you games if your opinions are negative. If your opinions are positive, not that your opinions should be bought, but you know, maybe the publisher will be more inclined to send you more review copies, and you know, that's where lines start to get blurry. Hence this whole survey. You know, I feel like there's always going to be bias in you know, in the content that people create, depending, you know, even if you try to eliminate it as best as you can, there's always going to be some kind of bias, even if you really make a conscious effort to not be biased in your opinions. Is it okay to show enthusiasm but with no opinions when the content was paid for? I think so. So I do that. So with my overview videos, now I will say with my overview videos that you know, sometimes they take multiple takes for me to make, and I can start to get exhausted while I'm shooting these videos. Contrary to popular belief, I do not speed up my videos. I do not edit them in any way, the overview videos. So I have no script. So I really just need to get a take in which everything went right, in which I didn't mumble or stumble over any words, in which I, you know, just didn't have components flying off the board, like that's happened on a few instances. You know, things can go wrong when I'm shooting an overview video. So in one instance, it took me like, I think like around 60 takes for me to get a video that I was content with. But you can guess by the time that the 60th take rolls around, I'm gonna be a little bit exhausted, because like that's like 60 times where I've started to say my whole spiel about the game and something went wrong and I had to start over. So for me, I would say that do not count on my level of enthusiasm to show how I feel about the game, because I may love a game, but because I keep on messing up somehow while I'm shooting my video, my enthusiasm, my level of energy is gonna start to decrease. I try really hard to maintain that high level of energy, but it is harder and harder, you know, the more and more takes it takes. But I think it's fine to show enthusiasm when the content was paid for, because at the end of the day, we're board game content creators and we are enthusiastic in general about board games. So why not? I think it's fine. Is it okay to do unpaid opinionated content if you did paid content around the same game? For example, you did a paid gameplay but an unpaid review. I do that, so I think it's fine. Personally, I do that. So like, for example, again, I do paid sponsored overview videos, and then I do unpaid opinionated content, which is my playback videos. So in my playback videos, I, you know, give a little bit more of a thorough explanation of how the game is played, but that is not paid for. That's something I have decided I would just do on my own because I wanted to start creating longer content, and I give my opinion of the game. So personally, I think it's fine. You know, I don't know what people's thoughts are on this. If you have thoughts on any of this, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm just telling you how I do things. Is it okay to do unpaid opinionated content if you have ever done paid content with the same publisher on other games? Again, I think so. I think it's fine. I've done that. Is it okay to do opinionated content around a game if you work for a game company or other potential conflict of interest? That's a little bit harder. I think if you do work for a company, then maybe you should disclose it. So I currently do not work for any board game publisher. A long time ago, I had a brief job with Fantasia Games, the publisher of Endless Winter, but you know, when I was getting canceled, they decided that they didn't want to take a risk with still having me on board, so they got rid of me. So I actually ended up selling my pledge of Endless Winter. I actually did back their other latest game, Unconscious Mind, because I actually helped a lot with like the rule book and like editing and stuff like that, and you know, some of the other stuff that was a part of the game, and actually one of my dreams was turned into a card in the game. So I did back that game, but I currently do not work for a publisher. For a very brief period as well, I worked for Talon Strike Studios, just trying to get their engagement up on the different social media platforms. But then when one of the distributors went under, and like I don't remember which distributor it was, like Fun Again or something like that, they decided that their money was tight, so that they couldn't, you know, keep me on, and that was a very short-lived position as well. You know, if I had discussed any Talon Strikes games at that time, then I probably would have disclosed it, but I do not think I did. But I think that if you work for a publisher or a game company, then you should absolutely disclose that you do, and before offering your opinion on that game. Is it okay to do opinionated content around a game if you are friends with the company, designer, developer, etc.? I think so. You know, with an industry this small, you're going to become friends with many people in the industry. I don't think I have close friendships with anyone really in the industry. I mean, you know, Alex goes into this in his video, like, you know, the number of people he can call friends is quite small. And then after that, there's acquaintances. Like Alex, I guess I would also consider to, at this point in time, to be more of like an acquaintance, that we're on friendly terms, but, you know, we're not necessarily like friends. So there are many people who I am on good terms with in this industry, but I am not necessarily like friends with them. But if you are like good friends with someone, then yeah, maybe you should disclose it. I think it's okay to do opinionated content around games, because again, it's a small industry, but maybe you should disclose it if you are. I don't know. But again, you know, lines can start to get blurry there as well. Is it okay to publish a photo of a game that you were paid to publish without it being obviously clear that the content was paid for? No, I would say absolutely not, because if you are being paid to publish photos, then you need to indicate that it's paid content. That is paid content, so you have to indicate it. I do think that I know for a fact that there are content creators who actually charge to publish photos, but then their photos actually do not indicate that it's paid content. How do I know that? It's because when I worked for a publisher and I was able to see the different content creators' media kits, and then I would actually look at their media and see that, okay, they're charging for this, but then they did not indicate in the post that it was actually paid. So I have seen with my own eyes instances where content creators have submitted their media kits which indicate that they charge for Instagram posts, but then do not indicate that those posts are paid for. And I think that that's wrong, because it's paid content. You're getting paid, so you should, anytime you're getting paid for something, you have to indicate that it's paid, because that will, I think, you know, lead to some kind of bias. You know, I think you should indicate that. Otherwise, I do think it's deceptive. Is it okay for a publisher to include a testimonial on a campaign page without it being clearly listed as coming from paid content? Oh gosh, that's a bit tricky. So, I would say probably not. You know, I think, so I've had publishers who I have created the sponsored overview videos for, and then they have asked me for a testimonial, and I've provided a testimonial. Sometimes they extract it from the video itself, because like I said, if I have really enjoyed the game, then at the end of the video, I might say, if you're looking for a fun set collection game, then check out this. So usually you can tell if I've enjoyed a game or not, because like in a few instances where I've made an overview video for a game that I actually did not enjoy, then I will just try to end it in a more like, I don't know, like I'll say like, oh, and then the person who gets this wins the game, and then done. Like, you know, but it feels very abrupt for me to end a video like that, so I always try to like include something at the end of the game, like, oh, if you enjoy games with beautiful artwork, then check this out. So some people have included that as a testimonial on their page without, you know, telling me that they would do that. So I don't know if that's okay or not. If they don't list that it's from paid content. I would hope that they would list it from paid content if they do that. So for this question, I think I'll select no, that they should indicate it's coming from paid content if they're going to list a testimonial. But if a publisher decides to ask me directly whether or not, you know, I want to give a testimonial that is separate from the paid content, then I'd be happy to do that. And, you know, I guess they can decide themselves if they want to list it as paid or not. Should you disclose when content is paid? Absolutely. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Should you disclose when you get a review copy? Yes. So this is what I'm starting to do more. So in the Board Game Wire article, I said that I need to be better about that, because in the past, when I have posted photos on Instagram, I had not indicated when those photos were of a game that I received a review copy of. Alex, in his video, he started talking about, you know, for how long should you do that? Like, if I received a review copy, like say 3 years ago, and I'm playing it 3 years later, like I've played it before a number of times and I'm still playing it 3 years later, like, should I be indicating in every single post that it's a review copy even 3 years later? Like, does this expire at some point? I don't know. I think, I think it's fair to say, okay, maybe for a year you should definitely be disclosing that it's a review copy. But clearly, if it's a game you've kept around for more than a year and you're still playing it years later, then clearly you do have a high opinion of that game because you're still playing it and you haven't culled it from your collection. At that point, do you still need to indicate it's a review copy? I don't know. And what if you forget? I don't know. I mean, right now, I think I can very accurately say if something was a review copy or not. But, if I've been doing this for 10 years, then I might start to forget. I don't know. But I think if it's a recent review copy, then you should absolutely disclose that it's a review copy. Should you disclose when you've been, and again, I'm going to be better at that in doing that. And I've already started to do that better on Instagram. Should you disclose when you've been flown or had costs covered in regards to covering a game? I believe so, but that's never been the case for me. I've never been flown in anywhere, but if you have been flown in, I think you should. Like, I know that a number of people were flown in to Chip Theory games to do content, and I think that if they posted any content on their own TikToks or wherever, YouTube, that they should disclose that they were flown in, because that's a lot of money, and obviously it's going to create bias in some way. You're not going to say negative things about a game after the company spent all this money flying you in, giving you a sword, and doing all of this stuff. Obviously you're going to have some bias in that situation. So you should absolutely disclose that you were flown in and had costs covered. Should you disclose that you have received any form of a gift from a publisher when covering one of their games? I think so. This has only happened to me once. I only received gifts from Ivy Games Studios. So when covering Mythic Mischief, they very kindly sent a whole bunch of stuff. They sent a sweatshirt, they sent some pencils, they sent a hat, which I ended up giving away because I don't wear hats like that. It was a baseball cap. They sent a book bag, a really nice book bag, which I still have. What else did they send? I think that's it. I think it was a sweatshirt, which I still have, the book bag, which I still have, pencils, which I actually use in gaming. I can actually see the pencils just sitting up there. Yeah, I think that was it. And I gave away the hat. There might have been something else as well that I gave away, things that I didn't want, I gave away. So I made a post on Instagram, I remember, and Facebook and different areas that, Ivy Games sent me the stuff, which was very generous of them. It made me feel special. It made me feel really nice when, that they decided that they would send me the stuff too. But yeah, I think you should disclose it. So I do not know if I disclosed it in the sponsored video. I know that I includes paid promotion on my video like I do all the time, but I'm not sure that I disclosed with the sponsored video that I received gifts. I disclosed it elsewhere, but I did not, I think, disclose it on the overview video specifically. But you probably should. If you answered yes to the previous question, how long should such a disclaimer be noted from that time of said gift? Gosh, and the options are numerous. So it says forever, at least 5 years, at least 3 years, at least 1 year, within 6 months, within 3 months, within the same month. Oh my goodness. I guess I'll say for now 1 year. But again, I don't know. I'm just gonna say 1 year. I don't know. If you can come up with a justification for longer or shorter, please let me know, because a lot of these questions are new to me and they're things that I actually never even thought about, to be honest. Should you disclose when you are friendly or not friends, just friendly with the designer or publisher? Friendly. So not friends, but just friendly. I'm gonna say no, because again, it's a small industry and you're gonna be friendly with lots of people. That's just the thing you should be doing. You should be friendly with people. You should not be, hostile towards anyone. I make an effort to be friendly with everyone that I meet for the first time, unless of course I feel that they've wronged me in some way, in which case I'm going to be screw you, I'm not going to be friendly with you. And there are people in this industry that I absolutely am not going to be friendly with because of how I've been treated by them. But if someone has treated me well, I'm going to treat them well and I'm going to be friendly with them. So no, I don't think you should disclose it, because then you're going to have to disclose a million things and that's just going to be too much. So I think that's going just overboard. Should you disclose when you are friends with a designer or publisher? So this says friends, not friendly. Probably. I don't know if I am friends with any designers or publishers, where I could actually call them good friends. You know, I mean, I was supposed to pick up David Turgsey from the airport once, and we were gonna hang out, but then his flight got messed up, so that didn't happen. So I guess maybe I could consider him a friend. You know, we do chat now and then, and you know, I was gonna do this, and you know, it would have been fun to hang out. So maybe I guess I would have to disclose it, or maybe I don't know. I don't know. You know, there have been times where I've said that I have not enjoyed some of David Turgsey's games. I've actually even culled one of his games. So I don't know if that's something you need to disclose or not. Let me know. For now, I'm gonna say yes, though. So I clicked yes, but I don't know. I don't even know if it really applies to me, but I guess I'll say yes for now. Should you disclose that you have done other paid content with the publisher whenever you cover one of their games in a dedicated video? For example, a review, gameplay, etc. I'm gonna say no. Like, you know, because like if I'm, because then in this case I would have to do that like all the time. Like, so for example, if I'm playing, for example, let's say Streets, I have done an overview video for Streets that was paid. But I just don't think that I would want to say each time I talk about Streets in a video that, oh, by the way, I did an overview video for this game that was paid for, because obviously I'm playing it again and again because I enjoy it. Like, I love Hakan Garder's designs. Yes, I did a paid sponsored overview video for his game Streets, but do I have to disclose that every single time I create content about that game? I think that that's just excessive. Like, I think, you know, the content that you were paid for specifically, absolutely disclose that it was paid for. But then down the line, like, do I have to disclose that every single time? I just think that that's a bit excessive, and I don't know if the FTC has rules on that. I'll have to read those rules more carefully, but I do personally think that it's a bit excessive to do that. Should you disclose that you have gotten review copies from the publisher in the past whenever you cover one of their games in a dedicated video? I do that. So if I'm playing a game and, you know, if I've talked about a game in a in a playback video, like this kind of video, I always mention if I paid for the game or if it was a review copy. If you remember, then I think you absolutely should disclose that it was a review copy. And you know, if it's a review copy that you received 3 years ago and you're still playing it, obviously you like it, and you know, people can obviously see that your opinion is not biased. Like, you're not going to keep on playing a game 3 years down the line just because you received it for free if you don't like that game. Should you disclose that you have done other paid content with the publisher whenever you mention their games in any opinionated content whatsoever? For example, a top 10 list. Oh, that is a good question. I have not done that, but maybe you should. That is a good question. I mean, the whole Quackalope controversy certainly makes this seem like it should be a yes, because in his emails to that one publisher, it seemed like you could buy a place on Quackalope's top 10 list for the right price. So obviously in that instance, you should definitely disclose, you know, so I will just say up front that my overview videos right now, I charge $300 for them, plus complimentary production copy of the game, because oftentimes I do not get to keep the prototype, and if it's a game I really enjoyed, I want that copy, a copy of the final version of the game so that I can play it again. So yeah, I guess, you know, because of the whole Quackalope controversy and him basically stating, like, indirectly that his opinions can be bought and that, you know, he will put a game in his top 10 list and, you know, whatever, I think that, yeah, you should probably start disclosing that you've done paid content for a publisher if their game appears in your top 10. So I think you should. Should you disclose that you have received prior review copies from a publisher whenever you mention their games in any opinionated content whatsoever? Isn't this the same question? Oh, so the previous question was other paid content. This one is prior review copies. Okay, sorry. So prior review copies. So this is not paid content. This is simply that you've received prior review copies from this publisher if you are putting one of their games in your top 10. I'm gonna say no. I think review copies are different from paid content. So in this instance, I'll say no. Should you disclose if you have ever done paid content for a publisher if any of their games are featured in the background of the video? I thought this was an interesting question because I have games in the background of my video. So I remember a few years ago, and you know, I'm just gonna say up front that I like Tom Vassell, and I think, you know, he's a really great guy. But a few years ago, I heard from someone that publishers paid him to have games displayed behind him when he would talk. They've switched studios since then. I mean, this was like when I first started content creation. I do not remember who told me that, but having been told that and seeing which games were behind him, games which I personally had thought were not that good, I believed it. So when someone told me that, you know, they were being paid to display games behind them, I believed what I was told, because I was like, that's not a game I would want displayed behind me. So, you know, I'm not being paid to display these games, and I can explain why I have chosen these games to be displayed behind me. So I decided that because this is like, you know, prime spot, like, you know, prime viewing spaces, whatever. Like, so like, you know, if I'm shooting a video and these are the only games you're gonna see behind me when I'm shooting a video, I want them to be games that I, number one, enjoyed, and number two, games that I have a nice relationship with the publisher. So these are all games that I enjoyed and have a good relationship with the publisher. So Arborea from Alley Cat Games, I was paid to do an overview video for that. That's it, just the overview video, and you know, I enjoy their games and I have a good relationship with the publisher, so I decided to display it. And I also like to display games that aren't yet released, just to kind of show people like, hey, you know, I do cover games that aren't released yet, so just to kind of, you know, put it in people's minds, like if any publishers are watching, like, oh hey, she has a copy of this game and it hasn't been released yet, let's look into her content a bit more. Because, you know, there might be people who are viewing my content for the first time and don't know exactly what I do, so I just kind of want to give them some kind of an indication that, hey, I cover games that haven't been released yet, so they can like dive a little bit deeper into my content and maybe choose to, you know, send me some games and hire me for some sponsored overview videos. So that is why I have Arborea and Scholars there, because I feel that, you know, I loved both of those games, number one, and I absolutely love Scholars, and I love the fact that Garfield Games, you know, decided to do a region of the Middle East and have like Muslim, you know, like stuff, like, you know, like Islamic themes and stuff in this game. Like, you know, Muslims made a lot of contributions to astronomy, medicine, philosophy, etc. So I like the fact that he is creating games that show that. So I have a good relationship with the Garfield Games. I have a good relationship with Alley Cat Games. I have a good relationship with Ivy Games. I have a good relationship with Devere. Devere has never paid for any content, but they do send me review copies, and I have a good relationship with them for that. So, and these are all games I absolutely loved, so I decided to display them. Above those, you can't see, there's another Devere games, Milfiore, and there's a game from Arcus Games, Deadly Meadows. Is it Deadly Meadows? Dreadful Meadows, sorry, not Deadly, Dreadful Meadows, the Halloween game that I really loved. So I was paid to do an overview video of Dreadful Meadows, and I absolutely love that game because if you know me, you know how much I love Halloween. So those are displayed on the top shelf, which you cannot see in this video right now. So those are why I displayed the games that I do. And they're going to change because I'm going to be giving away this copy of Scholar, so I'm going to have to put something else there. And I am going to be giving away my copy of Dreadful Meadows as well. So those will change, but typically I'm going to display a game that is maybe not yet released, or that, you know, is from a publisher with whom I have a good relationship. So should you disclose if you've ever done paid content for a publisher, if any of their games are featured in your background, in the background of your video? Like, am I supposed to disclose that in every single weekly playback? I'm not going to do that. That's just too much, I think. I think you should disclose if you're being paid to display those games, then yes, I think you should disclose that. But otherwise, I do not think you should disclose that you have done paid content for the games that are displayed behind you. Should you disclose if you have ever gotten a review copy from a publisher if any of their games are featured in the background of the video? Similar to the question before, but this one is for review copies rather than paid content, so I'm also going to say no for the same reasons. But again, I'm going to say if you're being paid to actually display games in your videos, you should absolutely disclose that because you're being paid to do that thing. If you answered yes to any of the questions related to prior relationships, how long should such a disclaimer be noted from when paid content or review copies were issued? Again, the same time frames he gives: forever, at least 5 years, at least 3 years, at least 1 year, within 6 months, within 3 months, within the same month. For now, I'll just pick 1 year, but again, I really don't know. Should you disclose if you did paid content around a game if that game shows up in any form of positive list-based video, for example, top 100 games, best 2-player games, etc.? If you did paid content for the game, I'll say yes, but if it's a review copy, I would say no. For how long should the disclaimer be noted for? I guess a year, but I mean, if you're doing a video, that disclaimer is going to be permanent. Like that video is going to probably be permanent on your channel. So the disclaimer that's listed there will be permanent. I think it would be crazy to go back in videos and remove disclaimers. Like that's not something I would do. Should you disclose how many times you played a game when reviewing? I always do. So yes, I think you should, because that's obviously going to affect your opinion. So like if I say I've played a game only once, I mean, it's up to you whether how much you want to take my, how strongly you want to weight my opinion. But I've been doing that in my weekly playback. So every time I talk about a game in a weekly playback video, I have mentioned, and in previous videos too, not just this one, how many plays I've done of that game. So I'll mention, like for Botanique, I've played Botanique so many times now, at least like 12 times. So I've mentioned that. I've mentioned, like, for example, the Princes of Florence here. I mentioned that it was my third play of the game. So I'll mention that, oh, this is my first play of the game, and so on. And I also tend to mention player counts too, which is actually his next question. Should you disclose at what player counts you played the game when reviewing? I would say yes, because I think that that's going to make a difference. Some games scale better at, at higher player counts, and they do not scale well at lower player counts, and so that might affect people's opinions. So I would say yes, you should disclose that. Should you disclose with how many different groups of people you have played the game when reviewing? To be mindful of groupthink. I'm going to say no, because I think that that's a bit excessive. I don't know. I think that's excessive, so I'm going to say no. If I just happen to mention it, I'll do that, sure, but if it just comes to mind, I'll do that. Like, oh, I played this game with my family, or I played this game with my hardcore gamer friends. Like I do mention stuff like that. So I have previously mentioned when discussing games, if I played it with someone who's not a hobby gamer, or if I played it with family members who are not hobby gamers, I've definitely mentioned that in videos. Should you disclose your opinions of other games by the same designer? Yes. I don't understand this question. Okay, I'm gonna say no, because I really don't even understand the question, to be honest. Should you disclose your opinions of other games by the same designer? So I'm gonna guess that what he means by this is if you're playing a certain game, or you're talking about a certain game, that you should say, oh, I felt this way about another game of his. I mean, I tend to do that anyway, but I'm going to say no, because I think that being required to do that is a bit crazy. So why? I just don't know why you should be required to do that. So I'm going to say no. Should you disclose your opinion of the genre in general? I would say yes. Okay, now I understand the point of his previous question, because maybe you just really love games by a certain designer. So you're just prone to love his games. Maybe he's just a really amazing designer in your opinion, and he can do no wrong. So now I see the purpose of that question. For this one, I'm going to say yes. I'm still going to leave the previous one at no. I'm going to say yes for this one, just because if you don't like dungeon crawling games and you're reviewing a dungeon crawling game, you should probably say that. You should probably say, hey, I don't like dungeon crawling games, but I'm reviewing this one, and here's my opinion of it. So I think you should do that. I personally do not like dungeon crawling games, so if I end up reviewing one, I will state out, up front that I don't like this genre, but I'm reviewing this because I played it, and this is my opinion of it. Should you disclose if you learned the games from a source other than a rule book? That's a good question. I've never thought about that, because I only ever read the rule books, and then if additionally I have questions, I will ask the designer or the publisher, or if it's a game that's been out for quite some time and there's a lot of video content on it, then I may refer to some videos, but generally I just read the rule book. I'm gonna say no, because why? I don't know. Or maybe yes. You know what? I think he's saying other than the rule book, so I think he means entirely. So you have not read the rule book at all, and you are just relying on videos or someone to teach it to you. So in that case, I'll say yes, because I would hope that if someone is reviewing a game, that they actually read the rule book, and if they haven't, then I'm probably not going to take their opinion seriously, to be honest. Should you disclose if you have looked at other opinions before publishing your own opinion? I think that this goes back to groupthink or something. Maybe if everyone loved a game and you see that everyone loved this and I didn't, then maybe I should also say I loved it. I don't think you should disclose it, but hopefully you have thick skin, enough thick skin that you can stick by your own opinion, which I have done and I will continue to do. I don't like Ark Nova. The whole world seems to love Ark Nova. I played it once at a 4-player count and I absolutely did not like it, and I decided I would never ever play it again. Yes, it was only one play of the game, but I just was so turned off by that game after one play, I decided I would never play it again. Did I look at other opinions before playing the game? I looked at other opinions and I was still able to form my own opinion that I absolutely do not like that game. So I don't think you need to disclose it. I'm gonna say no, just because again, it's a bit excessive. And there we go. It looks like that is the end of the survey. So I just hit submit. Wow. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, so there's a lot of, questions around ethics and content creation. So, I think having gone through all these questions, you know how I do things, but if you think I should be doing things a little bit differently, I am open to feedback. I am an adult, I am an attorney, but I'm also, because of those, I'm open to feedback. So, I do want to be more mindful of following the FTC rules, and that's why the Board Game Wire asked me to give a statement, because they know I'm an attorney, and, my license to practice law could be impacted by many things. Like, it's a profession in which I have to be ethical in my everyday life. Like, my license to practice law could be taken away for things that I do in my everyday life which are unethical. So for that reason, I try to live as ethically as possible. It's one of the reasons where people may think it's crazy that I had recorded that conversation with Helena Keppel. I'm an attorney. For me, these things are really important. For me, having proof of things is really important. So, my license to practice law, again, could be impacted based on things that I do in this industry, based on relationships that I have in person, just so many things. Like, people's licenses to practice law have been taken away for a number of reasons. So I have to abide by high ethical standards in my everyday life, which I would do regardless. Whether or not I was an attorney, I would do that, because for me, I like to be able to sleep at night knowing that I did not intentionally hurt someone, knowing that I try to make the world a better place, and so on. So for me, it's really important. So if you feel I have been doing something unethical or I should change a certain practice, please tell me. Please feel free to leave comments in the section below. I know that for many, it might seem, wrong for me to say at the end of a sponsored overview video, if you like a fun deck building game, then check this out. So if you think that that is highly, improper, then let me know and I'll stop doing that, and I'll try to find some other way to end the video, because I feel like just ending it with just by saying, and this player wins, it just feels so unnatural for me to end a video like that. I just don't know how else I could end the video. So if you have ideas or suggestions on how else I can end my overview videos without offering my personal opinion of the game, then please let me know. But my personal opinion of the game at the end of those videos, it's always very minimal. It's not it's always going to be a very quick line, and it's always truthful. So I would not say a game is beautiful if I think it's ugly. There are definitely going to be games that I play that I think are ugly. So obviously I'm not going to say that they're beautiful, because they're not. So, so if I think a game is fun, then I'll say it's fun. But let me know what your thoughts are on that, because that would be greatly appreciated. So now that we've done the ethics survey, let's move on. So I already talked about FlagCon, I talked about the ethics survey. So cats, so I'll just post some recent pictures of the stray cats I've been taking care of. I know that this is a video about board games and you probably don't care about the cats, but I will mention that because I am really dedicated to taking care of these stray cats, which I've been doing for over a month now. And I go take care of them every day, which I know is maybe some people say I should not be doing, and some people have said that, and I can see why they say that. I just feel I love animals. I love animals more than I love humans, and I just feel really badly for animals who I feel are so defenseless and are just left out there to fend for themselves. I know that they are capable of taking care of themselves, but if I can make their lives a little bit easier, then I will. So I go every day to put in fresh water and food for them, and I clean out all of their bowls. So what I'm spending a lot of money on cat food, but as well as paper towel for cleaning out all of their bowls. And then, and I keep 2 full big jugs of water in my fridge, so I take those with me to give them cold water since it is summer. But come winter time, I need to find a way to keep their water from freezing, and I need to find ways to keep them sheltered. So again, if you are feeling generous and would like to contribute to cat care, please feel free to Venmo me or PayPal me and just say cat care, so I know that it's for cat care. It would be greatly appreciated, because it is very expensive feeding over 20 cats every single day. So that would be totally appreciated, but again, no pressure. So let's move on to questions and commentary. So no questions for me, but again, going forward, if you have any suggestions about, in the way in which you think I do things, about disclosing, not disclosing, please let me know. So my question is, if you enjoy deduction games, what are your top 3 deduction games? So now, having played Tiwanaku, I decided I would ask this question. So for me personally, and these are Okay, so before I answer this question, I will say that 2 of them are games that I paid for personally, and then 1 was a review copy. And it just so happens that the review copy is at the top of the list. But I will say that I played it before I received the review copy. So I played The Search for Planet X with Jesse and Jan. No, just Jan. So I visited Jan in I hung out with them in October of 2020, and I played The Search for Planet X, and I really, really loved it. And I had decided that I just really wanted that game. So then I asked for a review copy of it, and I was sent a review copy. So I played it first, decided that I really loved it, and then asked for a review copy, which I did receive. So that is my number 1 deduction game. My second one is Tiwanaku, which I paid for myself. I backed it on Kickstarter, the deluxe edition. And then Awkward Guess, which is also another game I had paid for and really love and enjoy. But since we just did the whole ethics thing, I did cover their second deduction game, Scandal O, for their Kickstarter. So I did do a sponsored overview video for Scandal O, but I like Awkward Guess better just because of the theme of the game, and I like the aesthetic of Awkward Guess better, but they play almost exactly the same, quite honestly. So yeah, so that is my video for this week, and sorry if it was super long, and I look forward to your guys' feedback, and until next week, bye.